Hello, my name is Westo Enrico. I am the host of Mexican Talking with Famous People, and I'm talking in an American accent today just to prove host Eric I could do the same thing back to him. He usually does my Mexican accent, but I could do his American accent too. So anyway, that's not relevant to what we're doing here today. What we're going to have is a quick debate on rights. I'm going to argue against rights. I'm going to argue on the affirmative, affirming the resolution that a rights-based understanding of ethics is deprecated, that it's old-fashioned, we should get rid of it. And a famous person, Coconut, here, is going to argue against me. And we're going to 2-minute chunks. Catherine? Hey, Natalie, can you go bring in Evelyn and Homegirl? And then, Catherine, can you time me, please? 2-minute chunks. And give me signals. Give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds, and then 10. Okay.
Hi. No.
And give me a minute too. Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm host Eric. I am the host talking to people and affirming today's resolution that rights frameworks are deprecated. We should use something else to evaluate issues of policy or morality. My first contention is, number one, when people use the word, they mean any number of different things. It doesn't have a concrete, specific meaning that, at least in practice, that we can reliably agree upon. And that to the extent that if it did have a concrete, specific meaning, that specific meaning would be too limiting to allow us to use it as a meaningful criterion by which to judge policy decisions. So the only means by which we can understand rights is as in relation to their duties, okay? So because rights are, to talk about rights at all is to talk about duties, it means functionally that we have to agree upon which duties we all have in order to even discuss rights in the first place. Since we don't agree on duties, we can't agree on rights. Okay, so that's my second contention. We don't agree on duties, we can't agree on rights. And then what?
What are we doing?
You're being quiet and not interrupting, Evelyn. Jeez.
Having a debate.
We don't agree on duties. We can't agree on rights. That's my second point. My third point is going to be this: that a rights-based framework excuses people in behavior that is inexcusable morally simply because it doesn't violate a right, and that's not acceptable. We need to have a moral framework that is more robust than a rights-based framework, because a rights-based framework permits people to get away with predatory behavior as long as it doesn't technically violate someone's right. That's it. It's my speech. Thank you for listening to my constructive. Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay, so for the negative...
Wait, I didn't say go! Go!
For the negative, it's going to be two positions. The first contention is going to be rights are key to the quality of life, i.e. personal property, personal identity, personal ownership. The second contention is going to be rights are the only valid mediator for radically free agents. Alright, so the first contention, rights are key to the quality of life. If we don't have a centralized system for understanding that I as an individual have ownership over my own body, that means that people could come to me and tell me, hey, those are some really nice earrings you have in there. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to do with your body what you please, so you have to take those out. Quality of life is dependent on the ability of individuals to do with their personal property what they choose to do with it. I am my own personal property. Thus, using a rights-based framework is crucial to any form of ethics, because if I am not free to choose what I do with my own life, I can never be an ethical or a moral agent. Second contention, rights are the only valid mediator for radically free agents. In a world where we don't have rights mediation, that means I as a radically free individual can do whatever I see fit to rescind or reciprocate for any violence which has been committed against me. That means that if there's no right to corporal integrity, if I can't protect my own body, if that's not a right, if somebody steals from me, I can do to their body whatever I deem fit. And that is not a world I want to live in. That, my friends, is a state of nature, which, as described before, is brutish, violent, and short. Let's talk about my opponent's contentions. The first one is that there's no concrete meaning to anything associated with the term rights. That's wrong. There is two very definitive concrete meanings to rights. That is positive rights and negative rights. I think the most important are usually the negative ones. There are a couple of positive ones which I believe are necessary. However, that's not what we're here to talk about. So there is a concrete meaning. The second one is we can't agree on duties. We can definitely agree on many specific duties. Something like, for example, building roads, building hospitals, building schools. So yeah, rights-based frameworks are definitely ethical, and we should be using them to determine policy endeavors.
Okay. 2 minutes.
Time enough.
So off-time roadmap, I'm going to rebut, then extend.
Go!
Okay, that's how you off-time roadmap, by the way. Quick. So first, let me rebut. He says, number one, the rights are a key to quality of life. Basically, autonomy, control over self and one's property, are preconditioned to being a happy and free people. Well, I'm not going to dispute the fact that control over one's body and control over one's even stuff necessitates the concept of property, so that we can't determine who has control over things without acknowledging that there's be a concept of property. The problem lies in the individual rights aspect of things. Now, he points out in his rebuttal that there are two specific concrete meanings to right, a positive right and a negative right, but instead of countering my point, it actually makes my point for me. There's not one specific meaning. He's given me two, and I don't agree with his definition of there only being two specific meanings, but I'm just saying right off the bat, he's confirming, not rebutting my point. But second of all, in these, my point about the issue of property itself is that we can understand issues of control over something in a lot of different ways. Whether something is being leased or rented, whether something is being assigned to you as a company car for some task for some such a time, that sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways in which we attain control over something, and rights is one way in which we talk about a certain level of control that we believe to be inviolate. In practice, of course, we know it's not inviolate. We know it's not inviolate because that's why we have laws against people violating it. Because Evelyn, for example, is violating my right to stand here and silently rant without her interrupting. I don't have that right. See, but I can talk about it as though I do. That's what's wrong with the rights-based framework. It's too mushy. And in regards to his second contention, I've only got 5 seconds left. Rights are not the only mediator for radically free agents. In fact, we can indicate behavior in lots of different ways, including pragmatic concerns and religious concerns and stuff like that.
I like it.
What time is it? We got 5. Don't get all packed up and ready to go quite yet. We got 6 minutes left. I want all 6 of those minutes. That's 3 more speeches.
Right.
Him, me, him.
Okay, so ready for the rebuttal of the negative? Yeah, negative. Okay, so first on the rights and corporal integrity. I don't know if there's a mix-up here, but I do think that ownership of myself as an individual is something that we can ascribe to the idea of rights. That's just me. What I really want to talk about is the idea that rights are too mushy. This is uniquely problematic. Rights are not mushy. Rights are concrete. It's people that are mushy when they choose to define what rights they want to uphold and what rights they choose to deny. That's the mushiness, not the idea of rights themselves. If we want to get over this idea of rights being mushy, then we have to hold people to the idea of what rights are and not let them pick and choose and cherry pick which rights they choose to uphold and which rights they choose to deny. Furthermore, the argument presented by my opposition, in which they state that two meanings prove their argument that there is no concrete interpretation of what rights means. First of all, this is not true. If anything, I have further strengthened my own point that there can be, in fact, a concrete definition. I gave you not one concrete definition, but 2 concrete definitions. The fact that there are more concrete definitions goes to show that there is not a lack of clarity regarding the definition of the words rights. If anything, there is just an instance of somebody not choosing which definition they want to pick. I have been clear from the very beginning. Rights are bodily integrity, my right to own myself, my right to do with my body and my things what I so choose, and those are crucial. Specifically on the valid mediator argument, I don't see what would be the valid mediator if there's no right system for us to look to. Like, I own this, therefore I can determine what to do with it. If that rule doesn't exist, what would be the independent mediator for issues which are in contests, like a limited amount of water or cattle, something along those lines? Thank you all very much.
That was a close one.
Okay.
Evelyn,
2 minutes.
I might cry.
Bevelin.
Started.
No. Don't waste my time. Like, don't start ahead of time with me.
Oh, she's going to time it.
Okay, we'll start over.
Say go, don't say kind of stuff now. Those are running
Say go.
against you.
Okay. First of all, my opponent is the sounds he's making are the gurgles that are coming up from underneath the oatmeal in which he's swimming. That's how much mush he is throwing at you here. In exchange for his mush, I provide you a certainty that he simply can't provide by pointing out that, number one, he says you can't cherry pick which rights you choose, but he doesn't understand the mechanism of rights protection is a legalistic mechanism that encourages and rewards quibbling and interpretations that parse such incredibly minute distinctions that any notion of it actually tying to a fundamental principle is lost 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, a long time ago. As soon as the courts got a hold of the law ceased to be relevant to the constitutional protections that it was supposed to afford, and ceased to be relevant to the principles of rights as a limiting principle, and will be because the mechanism itself is one that requires interpretation and distinction making that preclude you from having an axiomatic core principle like natural rights as an actual meaningful adjudicator. It's simply a reference point, a noise that everybody makes to make sure that they sound like they're talking about something. But in reality, all they're saying is, well, we shouldn't do it in this case because they're kids and we don't want them to blow up. You know? But what about rights? That's not a right exactly. That's a privilegey, righty kind of thing, right? So we're not actually talking about something concrete is what I mean. That's why I am saying when he next speaks to you, I want you to visualize this. He's spitting oatmeal on your face. The only way to interpret his next speech is him spitting oatmeal on your face. That's how much mush is going to come out of his mouth. How much time do I have left? 15 seconds. So the last 15 seconds, I really want to drive this home. I want you to close your eyes. I want you, every word he says, I want you to picture a big glob of oatmeal flying from his mouth onto your face.
Don't! I hate oatmeal.
Okay, we ready? Alright.
Last speech.
Last speech out of me.
This gets to go last.
Okie doke. So, real brief roadmap. Clarifications. Everybody ready? Okay, so...
That's it.
Go.
2 minutes, guys.
Alright, so my opponent just nailed in their own coffin. At the point where they make the argument that says that increasing amount of rights is an indication that rights do not exist, that is a fallacy. Rights evolve and rights grow. The idea that a ball can then evolve into a sphere, an orb, or a circle is not the depiction of an absence of definition. It shows that we can greater evaluate and further define things when we increase the amount of knowledge which we have about them. My opponent makes the argument that the fact that we have to make exceptions, these are not exceptions. These are accommodations to the fact that... Eric, please. These are accommodations that are made because rights are a framework that has to grow and evolve with the people which use it. Rights cannot exist the way they existed thousands of years ago. If that were true, we would all live in what might be a preferable world of Hammurabi's code. That might not be preferable to others. We have to understand that our rights framework has to grow and evolve with the societies which use it. Thank you.
My name's Hammurabi, and this is my code.
I wonder if that's actually what they called
made a
it.
video about that.
Coconut signing off.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.
I need my pen. You can